Old, a Prehistoric Short Story. By Jeff Walker. Chapter 1, The Sands of Time. Hundreds of thousands of years ago, the Earth had already witnessed countless epochs, yet it was still shaping the destiny of a remarkable species. Out of that wellspring of creation came a creature that learned to adapt and grow as the world transformed around it. The early humans, a being split into two sexes, male and female. They lived off of the planet's resources, plants, water, and eventually the other animal life that shared their world. Survival was the key to existence in this ancient world, a survival that brought a revolving struggle with two key factors, life and death. In order for there to be life, death must occur, and from that death, life springs anew. An ongoing balance that this planet and all that live upon its surface requires daily. An evolution process that brings about change and growth. The weaker are replaced with the stronger, much more adaptable kind. Through intelligence, ingenuity, and cunning against any adversary, animal, or terrain. Those are the ones that shall thrive and multiply as Earth continues on into its own future. And it is here, in this prehistoric time, that we find a group of nomadic human beings in search of a place to call home. An epic journey that will spread their legacy and future across the continent. The only cruelty hindering their lives is the brief moments to experience it. Life on this world is limited, just another struggle that humans and all of creation must endure, nor can break free from the specter of death itself, time. Walking through the vast wilderness of the African plains, in the heart of what is essentially the cradle of humanity, a tribe of prehistoric humans make the journey to find a new home to settle in. A mixture of men, women, and children, varied in age, with animal skins covering their bodies for warmth and protection, along with other garments fashioned from plant fibers and leather. The group endure the blazing sun as it heats the rocky terrain beneath their calloused feet. Amongst the tribe, trailing behind at a slower pace, an elderly man struggles to maintain the brisk stride the others are going. Out of breath and carrying a pouch of water on his back, the tired, weathered man suddenly stops and drops to the ground. The fatigue of walking for so long has done him in. The urge to sit caused him to fall down slowly, as the pouch of water slipped off of his shoulder and came down hard onto the ground. The others turned in surprise as they heard his moans. The tribe gawked in horror, not so much about the fact that he had fallen, but more so of the pouch of water spilling its contents onto the parched, hot, rocky-laden earth. This made them furious. High-pitched wails and bitter grunts came from them all, as the incident incited an air of turmoil. The old man looked at the pouch and also howled in surprise. He quickly tried to stop it from spilling out as he scooped up the leathery water bag, fashioned out of animal bladders, and tried to correct his mistake. The leader of the tribe, a young muscular man with dark long hair, rushed over and yanked the pouch out of the old man's hands. His scowl of anger was matched with the baring of his teeth. They were large, worn, and yellowing. The fact that he still had most of them was a sign of health and youth. The young always had stronger teeth, giving them the advantage of stripping off more meat and chewing on tougher plants for sustenance. As time went on, teeth would become worn down from grit and food, and some would be lost to injury or decay, making it harder to eat and less likely for the individual to thrive in old age. The old man had lost several teeth over the years, just enough remaining to eat adequately, but he found it harder and harder with each passing season. To be old in this era is to occupy a precarious position in the tribe. Respect is earned through strength and provision. The youngest and strongest often lead, though elders who still contribute, whether through knowledge, skill, or labor, maintain their place. But once you become too old, injured, or infirm to keep pace, your position becomes uncertain. "Urk, urk," the young leader grunted. He shoved the water pouch in the old man's face and struck his head hard a few times. There was little response. The old man lowered his eyes in shame. He knew he had screwed up. A good portion of the water had drained out and the leather bag was only now half full. He motioned to the youth, hands raised up in surrender, a form of apology and acknowledgement for his stupidity. The others behind reacted with disapproving loud bellows and shouts, tossing of dirt at him, and stomping their feet and hands onto the ground. Forgiveness for this was not enough. Every drop of water was precious. Even with their ancient minds as capable as any modern humans, yet shaped by different experiences and knowledge. They all understood that food and water was the key to living another day. Wasting such things threatened them all. The young leader kicked the old man hard, causing him to fall flat on his weary back. He then growled with rage, thumping on his chest and baring his teeth at the old man. The sign of strength was not lost on the elder. Once again, the young leader growled, "Urk!" Perhaps it was his name or some form of address, but this utterance seemed to mean old or old man, as the others repeated it as well. Urk looked frightened as he trembled from their aggressiveness. Once he was a capable provider and defender himself. He had contributed to the tribe's survival and earned respect through his skills. He remembered having a mate and the warmth of companionship. Now, however, his time had diminished and left him weak, his mate long dead and his place in the tribe uncertain. The young had risen, and the man who berated him, perhaps his son, perhaps not, was now among the leaders of the group Urk had helped sustain. It was the cycle of life. Urk waited for the others to kick, spit, or throw rocks on him. He'd seen other elders be cast out or killed when they could no longer keep up. Even he had taken part in his day by harshly judging those who endangered the group. Young versus old, survival versus sentiment. But as he cowered in fear, arms covering his face, awaiting the same fate, he noticed nothing was happening. He glanced over his limbs and saw the tribe walking away. At first, he thought they were looking for a good rock or stick to bash him with, but as they walked further and distanced themselves, he soon realized his imminent torture was not to be. Urk tried to sit up, all the while gawking at his tribe, leaving him there. He wiped the blood trickling from his mouth and nose, and finally found the strength to stand up. Urk howled at them in loud pitch, gesturing desperately as if to call them back. He realized he was to be abandoned, outcast, and left to die in the wilderness. It was a grim outcome, though not unprecedented. Urk had known of other groups that left behind those who could not maintain the pace. To keep an elder who slowed them down was to risk the entire tribe, the children, the young mothers, all of them. By leaving him, the group could move swiftly to water and shelter. That's how it was done, or how it had to be, for the survival of the many. Looking around where he stood, he discovered they left the water pouch. He reached down and felt the remaining portion of water still inside. Fingering it carefully, he wondered if there was enough to last even a day. The sun was still at its highest peak, with few places to find shelter from the scorching rays on his weathered skin. The rocky valley was very open and exposed, nothing for miles around big enough for him to hide from the elements of nature. The fear took over. He twirled around and tried to shout at the tribe. He wanted to join them again, but they were so far away now, he had a hard time catching up. His spirited sprint was more like a tired jog, the wounded left leg slowing down his pace, and the bruises inflicted on him caused him to wince in pain. Still, Urk tried his best, but the labored breathing was a sign that he wasn't physically able to maintain it for long. His body soon shut down from all the trauma, and Urk slowly collapsed from the fatigue. He couldn't do it. He was too tired, too hurt, and much to his own dismay. Far too old. Urk's eyes fluttered beneath the sharp blue sky drenched in sunlight. The wisp of white cloud dissipated slowly as it moved with the breeze, with distant birds gliding on the gentle wind, calling out to each other as they played about. While Urk kept to the ground, lying on his back, trying to maintain his breath, he turned his head slightly to see the tribe as they slowly faded out in the distance. Dark dots that grew smaller every second he looked on. Soon his eyes became weary and closed. Sleep was taking over and he tried one last time to call to them, but only a faint whisper escaped his lips. The tiredness took over and he could no longer fight its hold on him. Perhaps it was best to have a rest. Yes, he could try again after a quick nap. That's all he needed to do, just give his body a moment to heal and then he could catch up to them. Without struggling to stay awake any longer, he willingly allowed himself to drift off and let the time of dreaming begin. The other world where anything was possible, even to an old man like himself.